What's up, everyone? Carmine Dinisco here. Another UIA TV episode. I don't know what the hell we're going to talk about today, but let me bring Chris, the king of manufacturing, on, and I'm sure it's going to be good. Chris, what's up, man?
Hey, we're going to keep in line with our licensing series.
I love
David
this stuff.
And Amy Jo. I mean, they're like the best in the industry, so why wouldn't we? The feedback has been absolutely phenomenal. Like, people love it. Shorter clips, like trying to keep it to 10 minutes. So it's easy to watch it, but you get a lot of information in a little time. So
yeah, I get a lot
the goal for today.
Getting a lot of people following up. We're answering their questions. They don't have to call and ask us the questions, not emailing us. The licensing and stuff is big. I believe that most eventers should go toward this licensing and stuff first. They got to give it a try. It's so important to learn the right way to do it. Definitely.
So before we jump in, let's talk about our new program for 2022, Inspire 100.
Oh yeah.
All right, Carmine, tell everybody what they can expect from it and how to sign up.
Yeah, so on our website we have a link to Inspire 100, the application. So what we're going to do is over a certain period of time, we are looking at the products that have affected many different industries over the last couple of years. We're looking at which ones have sales, which ones are really impacting the industry. And we got some great judges. We're going to look at those, and we're going to give out awards for those top 100 products within the industry. We're still working on what those awards will be, is because it's so different for each person that wins. We want to make sure that we'll be able to benefit those particular products, what they need, how we can help them, because that's what the UIA does. We want to help those industry leaders with those products with the right award that will help them better not only their product, but move their product forward to what they want to achieve. They can sign up on the UIA website. They click the link. There is a cost to sign up, and I think it's $199 to pick up to 3 categories. And we're taking entries right now. It's pretty awesome. We're getting a lot of people sign up. After the hardware show, it was busting out. It was crazy.
Yeah, I think it's great. And it definitely is. I'm getting a lot of calls too. I'm even getting, like, if you're not connected to me, people are reaching out on Facebook and sending me messengers. So yeah, it's been great. All right, let's go into our licensing. I don't even talk about Event Tribe. I don't talk about David Federer. I don't talk about Amy Jo Wagner. Everyone knows them, right? Everyone knows David and Amy Jo. So when you hear me say it's going to be real talk about licensing with David and Amy Jo today, for 10 minutes, we're going to talk about royalties. How do you get a good contract? Like, how do you know when the royalty is right? How do you know when the percents are correct? How much time do you have to put in all that with proof of concept and good sell sheets? And we talked about, like, how to start this whole licensing process right through now to a contract. So I'm going to let you guys take that on. But how do I get my best royalties when I license a product?
Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Show me the money. So, like, I absolutely love the negotiation process and also coaching it, because it's like this cross section of where psychology and business meets. And it's not only like the psychology and emotions of the inventor, it's also the other side, right? Your licensee, because they have to have, and for licensing, a lot of the times we're looking at an invention that is not proven in the marketplace. And so when you pitch it to a company, there's no hard data that says this is this valuable. It's all a perception of value, right? Because they're looking at it and saying, this is the value, or this is what we perceive the value is. And so you, as the inventor, right, you have to keep that perception of value high as you move through this journey. Because if that value drops, then you're negotiating position or your leverage lowers. And so one of the best ways I have found to increase royalties is just asking good questions. And the reason I say that is because, a lot of people, when they come into this and they hear the word negotiation, they think immediately Shark Tank. They're like, this is a high pressure situation, and I'm going to be like trading numbers back and forth. And like, I'm going to have the CEO on the phone. And it's like, that's not how it actually plays out. It's like a 3 to 6 month process of just asking questions and seeing what works. Because in licensing, and this is usually a shock to a lot of people, like, and this is kind of what Chris said, is like, how far do you have to develop the product to get your product licensed? And I've seen products licensed from just a sell sheet, not even a PPA filed. Basically, somebody just created a drawing, they showed it to a company, and they're like, we will license this. and then taking it all the way to manufacturing and already on the shelf selling. And they want to take those, essentially the rights and the production and the whole business, and license it to somebody else, right? That's a continuum of from beginning, basically sell sheet sketch all the way up to the top. And there's actually very little difference in the royalties. And that shocks a ton of people, because like I've done, licensing on this end, right? Licensing fully developed products. But you look at a company's business model and like they make the same margin per unit on this as they do on this. There's just a lower investment. And that's why at the end of the day, you're still going to sit between 3 and 7% royalties, typically depending on industry. And so,
how about percentages, like contract, and you finally get to that point? I hear someone tell me, oh, I got a 7%. And so how much you sell? Nothing. So good job. You went to the wrong distributor, right? You found the wrong company, because you can make $1 million on 4% versus 0 on 7%. So I always find that interesting.
And it doesn't matter what number you get, right? 1%, 10%, 1% could be $1 million a year. 10% could be, as Chris said, nothing. Right. And so it really depends on the partner that you're with. And I'm going to give you guys 2 quick stories. So first story, I had one of my students come to me and they're like flaming pissed. They're like, I got a 1% royalty offer from this company. This is BS. I'm like, whoa. Let's back up. Let's run the numbers. Let's figure this all out. Right. And so they had projected sales. They had price point, and we had a 1% royalty. So if you have those 3 numbers, you can figure out what your yearly income was. And mind you, this inventor was literally living in their parent basement. And we calculated this whole thing backwards, and it ended up being $1.3 million a year. Yeah. That was the offer. And so I was like, are you pissed now? And they're like, no. And like, they were going to go in there and like try to annihilate this company for giving them a 1% offer. But it's what is the cash that's coming to you that matters.
Right. No, definitely. Because I always hear that. Like, I want a 7%. And I go, okay, what does that mean? What does that even mean? 7% of what? Who's the company you're working with? What type of marketing you're going to see? What type of viability will the product get? So I think that's an important point, because you're right. A lot of people get hung up on the wrong stuff, and that will turn a company off real quick and say, you know what? And you talked about that, I think, in one of our previous episodes about the person. You have to also be a person that somebody wants to work with you. You don't want to be a person who's going to be demanding and tell these people what to do when they know how to do it, and they could make you a lot of money. You'll turn them off and they say, no, we're not that interested anymore.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is too, David, okay, you touch on a really great point too, in the sense that, okay, asking good questions, you need to ask those questions in order to get those numbers, right? And so interacting with them, communicating with them, building that relationship to where you feel comfortable to ask those types of questions. They're expecting you to ask it. If you don't, again, you're not representing yourself as a professional. If you're not trying to gather that information in order to make a fair deal, for a mutually beneficial deal for you and the company, that's really, really huge.
It is.
I like negotiating. That's my sweet spot. Like, I always take my kids when we go buy a new car. I say, it's not going to be like, you're not going to walk in and buy a new car. I usually take 4 months, because I'm playing everybody off each other. The best one is when I come in,
so
if I have something left on a trade, and the guy says, what do you own the car? I said, what does it matter? If I'm traded in, you shouldn't worry about what I owe. You should worry about what you're going to give me for a trade in. I'll worry about what I owe. I may owe nothing, right? So it's a little bit here, right? Negotiation is important. You got to do it professional, and you got to really understand the market and what you're dealing with. And I think, if you look at like Bunch of Balloons, like Josh Malone, right? You want to find the right partner. Because I don't think, I talked about that on one of my podcasts with Josh. At the time, he was really selective on who he chose for a partner. Think about that. If he didn't pick Telebrands, what's Zuru? Telebrands is the one he was going against. They never would have spent $25 million in legal fees to support a suit like that, right? So he found the right partner. They had a lot of good robotics. They had a good manufacturing site. It was a perfect match, and it still is to this day. And there's sales off the chart, because it's a great product. It was a great idea. So that to me is equally as important, right? Is making sure you're not just looking at a number, percent. You're looking at a partner.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And some people, they just look at it as like, what's the biggest business I can find? That's not right either. Because I've licensed products to the biggest businesses. This is early in my career. And then I end up just in the back of the catalog as another one of their products. But when you license to some mid-sized companies, you're like, they can only screw up a couple times before they're bankrupt. And so they need it to work. So they hammer on marketing. They get the product out there. They have salespeople pushing it. And like, I make more money off of some of my mid-sized company licensing deals than my one that's, I think they're like an $8 billion company. It's just in the back of the catalog. I mean, I make a little bit, but it's not about size, partly about relationship. What are they going to do with it? Those things are more important with the success of your product, how much you're going to make, than the number. And that's the saying, like, you make the number, I make the terms. Like, it changes everything. And that's we could go on for like an hour about that statement alone.
Which we will. So Dave, how long have you been doing licensing? How many years?
I started in 08, 09-ish. So what is that? 12, 13 years.
Yeah. How about you, Amy Jo?
A little over 10 years.
So think about that. So you got like 20 plus years between these two. Like, why wouldn't you want to listen with someone with that experience? Like, I've been doing manufacturing and engineering for over 30 years, right? Showing my age now. But like, to me, I feel like I can answer your question before you even ask it. So I've been around so much of it in corporate America, and my own products, my own tooling, right? So why wouldn't you want to learn from people like this? To me, it's one thing to read something and watch a video, but to really have experienced it, dealing with consumers and dealing with inventors and potential companies and buyers, the questions they're going to ask. It doesn't change. It's pretty similar. Everyone has different personalities, right? Negotiation is a skill set. But end of the day, I think, Dave, you talk a lot about this, and I know I've heard Amy Jo talk about it. It's a process. It's the same with me. I'm a Lean Six Sigma guy. It's a process in manufacturing. You guys have that process. So why wouldn't I want to come to you when I have a question? You're the first people I'm going to ask.
Well, and you want to make sure, that's such a great point, Chris, because you have the industry experience with what you specialize in. When you're new to an industry, though, you need to make sure to educate yourself, just like anything else. If you want to be a cosmetologist, you want to be a doctor, you have to get some education for it in order to understand it enough to even know what to ask. You have to know enough to be able to ask the right types of questions. And a lot of people don't even know where to begin with that.
Right. All right, cool. So I think we're going to kind of wrap it up on that. We got a lot more of these series coming up, but again, royalties is not just a percent. Understand that. The right partner, and I guess if I could ever use an example, Josh alone on a bunch of balloons is probably the best example of the best partnership you can ever achieve at that level. Yeah. And did he get lucky? Maybe. You don't know in the end when you get into a partnership, but he made the right choice. He did a lot of looking around. He did a lot of visits to plants, a lot of talking to the right people, and as they say, the rest is history. So that's I think we talked a lot about royalties, but it really is finding the right partnership that you can gain. You can still make millions or thousands on a 1% royalty, as opposed to, I know people who have 7% that made nothing because they picked the wrong partner. So I'll close it on that note. And again, these two, David and Amy Jo, are the best at what they do. They're easy to talk to. Feel free to reach out. I love working with them. I've known them all along, but not to this level. And the more I get to know them, the more I see how strong they are in this field. So reach out, get some help if you're not good at this.
And Chris, what's crazy is they're still talking to you. That's the great part about it.
That is the great part. I had to pay them some royalties.
Hey, real quick, Dave and Amy Jo, this is this kind of stuff that you guys cover when you're working with a potential licensee or a client. Is there a point where somebody should contact you guys first? Should they contact you before they do anything? Should they do some background? What's the best way, and how should they contact you? What's the best time for them to contact you guys?
So I like to start working with inventors early on. And reason being, a lot of times people will call me and they're like, hey, I got interest. And there's tons of YouTube videos and stuff on the internet and things you can read to get to that point. But a lot of times, because negotiation is a lot about relationship development, because Like if you haven't established a good relationship with your potential licensee from the beginning, then asking them for a higher royalty, you can't do that because you don't have the relationship. And so I like to start working with inventors when they're even at like the napkin sketch stage, because then I can teach them the habits it takes to successfully license a product. And they're not taking, sometimes $5,000 or $10,000 missteps through the journey of getting your product licensed. And so a lot of times it's the earlier, the better. I usually save people quite a bit of money on that journey. And then once you get to negotiation, there is a specific process. As Chris was saying, like he's Six Sigma, like process. Like I've coached over 170 inventors to license products, like closing deals. And literally like I can step into a negotiation, figure out where they're at and pull it back on track. But at the same time, it's way more difficult if we don't start from the beginning. You're not going to be able to leverage that relationship development into higher royalties and more money. Yeah. And so I always tell people, the earlier the better. Usually I can help you more and get you moving faster. But if you want to reach out, David at Invent Tribe or Amy Jo at Invent Tribe, and you can check out inventtribe.com. We also have YouTube channels with more content.
Yeah, this is great information, Carmine.
I know we went a little.
Think about the benefits of these little 10-minute segments. Oh, really good stuff. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I know we went a little over, but I wanted people to know the sooner they get started with you guys, the better. If they're not sure what to do, do something. If you're not sure what to do, and that would be contact you guys to get started. Very, very important. Yeah. So thank you all for listening in. I thank David and Amy Jo for all this information. As Christopher said, we will be continuing this programming, especially because licensing is so important, and UIA TV will be covering it. I thank you all for listening. From myself and Mr. Christopher Guerrera, we thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time on UIA TV. You all take care.